Good afternoon, gentlemen, and welcome to this online tutorial. This online tutorial has been designed to help you put together your menu for Year 9 camp. So you will be shopping as a group of 3 for all your food before you go on Year 9 camp. And if you pay attention during this session, you should have all the knowledge you need in order to put together a tasty but healthy menu for camp that will last. So one of the main things you need whilst you're on camp is going to be energy, and it's needed for body maintenance, growth and physical activity. And on camp you'll be doing activities that require a bit higher than normal energy levels, and gaining that sort of energy means you have to eat the right amount of the right foods. So carbohydrates, proteins and fats are really important, and if we don't get these foods, obviously we can be hungry, and there are some students who haven't bought enough food and eaten all their food in the first few days, and this just means that they've gone hungry for the last couple of days. We can get fatigued, and as the camp goes on we can get a reduced ability to think through the decisions that we have to make whilst we're on camp. So the daily consumption, or what you want to try to work into your menu, is about 45 to 65%. So about half of your daily meals are made up of carbohydrates, things like wraps, pasta, rice, all those things that contain carbohydrates, and you'll notice when you come to putting your menu together, they're under the drop down menu base. So most of the bases of the meals, so say a pasta, which is the base of a nice tomato pasta meal, will be carbohydrates. Obviously you need protein, and that can be just under a quarter of your meals, and you get your proteins from salamis, tuna, smoked chicken and meats like that, and that's also where our fats come from. And we want to make sure that we're getting a little bit of protein, a little bit of fat, but our main ones are carbohydrates, and you'll find that a lot of carbohydrate meals are going to last for the 5-day period. So as a group of 3, you're going to design your own menu for the 5-day period. To an extent you'll get control over the design, but obviously there are some school policies that go with eating and cooking on camp that need to be followed. And so that's why on the expedition menu design pro forma, which you'll get at the end of this lesson, there are drop down boxes, and in the drop down boxes it states what food you can eat. At the bottom of most of those boxes you'll find a little line that says it needs to be authorized, which just means if you're choosing a different food that's not in that list, you need to contact me via email to make sure that it fits within the school's policies. And obviously following these guidelines ensures that you and your classmates are not going to get sick, that nothing's going to get squashed in your bag, food won't go off, and a really important one is that your pack won't weigh too much. On the screen now you can see a number of different expedition food guidelines. I'm going to go through each one and talk through what foods you could use, or what techniques you might use to ensure that all these food guidelines are met. But when you go to design your own menu, this page is a good reference for you to come back to and just check off that each item of food that you're selecting fits in these headings. Okay, so no refrigeration. Basically, anything that goes in your fridge at home can't be bought on camp to an extent. So you can see over here we've got fresh meats, so fresh chicken and steak, things like that will go green within 1 day of being on camp if they're not refrigerated. On the right hand side here we've got other meats that have been either smoked, this is smoked chicken, or have been cured, so salami or spam have all been cured. And these meats not only great because they last a long time, but they can also be fried up in your dinner. And let's say you're having a pasta, you might fry up some salami, and it just adds that little bit of extra meat to your meal. As you would remember from your Year 8 camp experience, we need to minimise all the rubbish that we take with us because there's no bins out there. So the best way to do that is to transfer everything into snap lock bags. You can see on the left here we've got rice bubbles and wheat bix, and they're all inside their box. But if we take them outside the box and we put them into snap lock bags, it means we reduce our rubbish by half. If we do that with everything that we're taking, our rubbish will be halved across our bag. We'll have to carry less, and in the long run we won't have as much rubbish in our bag. Alright, this is really important. You want to make sure that you're eating healthy and tasty food. So when you go to design your meals, try to add extra vegetables to the meal. So don't just go with, let's say for example, a wrap with Vegemite. It may sound like a good idea at the start, but after 5 days of eating wraps with Vegemite, they're going to get boring and you're not going to want to eat them. So it's a good idea to make sure that your meals not only have the nutritional elements that you need, but also that you make an effort to make sure they're going to taste good. You can see I've got 3 examples here on the screen of different dinners you could cook. So we've got couscous and tuna, and you might add peas, onions and carrots. So some really hearty vegetables that aren't going to get squashed, but also a tasty meal. You could even add a sauce to that. Over here you would recognize this sort of setup as what we ate on Year 8 camp. A pasta with tomato sauce. This one's got a bit of mushrooms with it, and fresh tortellini, or you could have fettuccine or whatever you wanted, spaghetti, angel hair, any sort of spaghetti. And down the bottom here, this is one that I really like, red Thai curry, and I usually have that with a pre-cooked rice, and it's a beautiful meal while you're out there. Choose robust foods. Robust just means foods that will not get squashed in your pack. We know from our experience on Year 8 camp, if we pack anything soft like this, it's going to get squashed in our bags. So instead of packing, say, something like bread, we go for an alternative that won't get squashed, like wraps. And we've got other hardy vegetables, carrots, onions, zucchinis, even cucumber, things like that. They're all going to be nice hard vegetables that aren't going to get squashed in your bag. Down here on the right we've got Kraft cheddar cheese. This is an amazing cheese. I think this cheese would last an atomic bomb. So you can find it on the shelf in the supermarket and not in the fridge, and that's why the preservatives that are in this cheese mean that it will last for the week. You can buy as much as this cheese you want and it won't go off. If you buy tasty cheese, more than likely it will go off within 2 to 3 days. I've placed the tomato in the middle here just to make a point about it. When you packed for Year 8 camp, we showed you the space inside your trangia, which was the only sort of protected space in your pack. So I like to put 4 tomatoes in that protected space so I can have some fresh tomatoes with my lunch. But you can decide on any sort of vegetable that might get squashed or softer vegetable to put inside your trangia. But that's the only sort of hard space we get. We can't bring plastic Tupperware containers because they take up too much space in our bag. And yeah, like it says at the bottom there, it is the only protective space in your bag. So meats need to be smoked, salted or dried. And when you choose your meats, just make sure that they won't go off. It's a really simple thing, but some people have bought in the past a whole chicken, and that's guaranteed to go off within a few hours, let alone 5 days. So other than the meats we talked about before, there's a bit of cabana there, and some people like to bring Twiggy sticks as well, and I like to fry this up if I'm having a stir fry. Put it in my stir fry. Tuna is great. You can also get sachets of salmon. So instead of getting the tuna or the salmon in a can, you can see in the picture here, it's in a sachet. And then when we finish using the tuna and we go to throw the packet in the rubbish, it squashes down nice and small and you would barely even notice it's in our pack, whereas the tuna cans tend to leak in our pack and they take up a lot of space. So that's a good tip that you can use when you're buying your tunas and your salmon. Lightweight foods, and this is probably the biggest weight saver in your pack is going to be how much you can lighten up your foods. For example, if you were to bring a litre of milk, it's going to weigh 1 kilogram. So when you think about it, over 5 days between 3 of you, there's a possibility that you'll need 3 to 4 litres of milk. If you bring 3 to 4 kilos of milk and then add all your other stuff on top of that, you're going to have the most heavy bag that anyone's ever carried on year 9. So as an alternative, you can bring 500 grams of full cream milk powder, and that will last you, all 3 of you, for the whole week. Something to remember, 1 kilo of liquid equals 1 kilogram of weight. So if you were to load up on milk, up and goes, and then you put your water in your pack, that's going to make your pack extremely heavy. We want to try and minimise the amount of tins and jars we take. If you've got your favourite sauce and it's in a jar like this, just like we did on year 8 camp, you can pour it into a snap-lock bag and double bag it and get the air out, and it'll be fine. You can take it along like that. If you've got something like a Campbell's chunky soup with meat in it, I would suggest not bringing that in a snap-lock bag because it's going to go off. As soon as the can opens, these things start to go off. So all cans, just leave them at home or look for an alternative like we talked about with the tuna and the salmon and getting a sachet before. Okay, you want to make sure that some meals are quick and easy to prepare. So when we go for a breakfast, like what we've got on the left here, we've got our powdered milk there and we've got our Nutri-Grain, easy to prepare. When we get up in the morning, we've probably got half an hour to cook our breakfast, eat our breakfast, and we won't be cooking our breakfast. Some people have tried to cook their breakfast in the past, but have found that the fact that everybody else is already only eating cereal, by the time they'd even cooked their breakfast, everyone else is packed up and finished and ready to go, and so they didn't get to eat all their meal. The other issue with cooking your own meal is a lot of people try to cook pancakes, which tend to get stuck to the trangia, and they end up cleaning the trangia for a long time afterwards. So pancakes don't work on a trangia, and neither do things like bacon and eggs and stuff. If you want to bring porridge and you want to cook that, that's fine. You can bring that along, but just means you're going to have to get up earlier so that you're not stopping everyone else from walking out of camp. So a nice, quick, easy breakfast can sometimes work in your favour. Lunchtime, you'll be stopping on the side of the trail, and so you'll have to go into your bag, get this stuff out without unpacking everything, and make it on the side of the trail. That's why a set of wraps is good. You can see there's lots of nice vegetables, so cucumber, a bit of capsicum, tomato, there's even some lettuce there, but certain lettuces won't last. You've got to make sure if you're getting lettuce you can eat it in the first 2 days maybe, but after that it tends to go a bit green. There's also salamis and a whole host of things that you can have for lunch there that are quick and easy to prepare. Dinner's, as you may have noticed on the Year 8 camp, there's a lot more time for dinner. So once we get in, we've set up our tents and we're sitting down in our transit circle, we've got maybe 2 or 3 hours where we can cook dinner. So you can make dinner a bit bigger and a bit harder to prepare than all your other meals, but you don't want to make it too hard, and you want to remember that you're cooking on a trangia, so it takes probably 5-10 minutes to boil water, and then it's only got a certain size bowls, so you can't put too much food into those bowls. Okay, so before you start designing your menu, you need to consider all these things. The expedition food principles we've just discussed. You need to make sure if someone has allergies in your group that you do not have the food they are allergic to on your menu. Okay, this will be looked at by myself as well to ensure that nothing comes like that. The school does have a no nuts policy, and you'll notice that it's not in the drop down menus on your menu design page, so definitely do not bring those. Make sure you check if there's any vegetarians in your group, so just simply ask everybody in your group, do you eat meat or things like that. If they don't eat meat, that's fine. You can still go for meat in your menu, and you can still buy meat. It just means, let's say for example in a stir fry you might cook the noodles and the vegetables first and then serve that person, then fry up the meat and throw it in afterwards. Okay. And finally, if there's anyone in your group with a food intolerance, you need to find out what it is, and make sure that you don't have that food on your menu or they've got an alternative for it.